I am in the midst of reading Basic Economics by Thomas Sowell. And you may say, oh, that sounds really boring, Donna. Well, to the average person, it may, but Thomas Sowell has a really great way of making economics relate to things that you and I go through every day. And in one particular section, he talks about rent control. And I've heard a lot of comments about government intervention and pricing, and this is specifically coming up a lot in our current times with elections and the future here. And I want to talk to you about a little example about why the government should not be involved in pricing. Thomas Sowell goes back and talks about rent control, specifically in New York City. And he says that when rent control ideas came about, the government, of course, had a good intent. Their intent was that the city was getting very expensive for people to afford to live in. So we always hear about affordable housing. This was a methodology they thought of to help create affordable housing. And it has backfired in a terrible way because they looked at this little idea, but not all of the effects of things that happen downstream from it. So let's give you a little example. So let's say that an apartment was available for rent in New York City and I'm just going to use some round numbers without regard to timing. Let's say it was $1,000. And the government said, okay, you can't increase that price. You're stuck. You're going to go, this is $1,000. So you, Mr. Landlord, cannot be out there and be greedy and raise it to $2,000 because that would not be affordable for people. So if you are the owner of that building and you can only charge $1,000 rent for that apartment and you're fixed. And now the roof needs repairs and the HVAC system is not really as efficient as it could be and it's probably going to break soon. Are you going to invest to fix it? Why would you want to? What is your incentive to do that? You can't charge more for it because you have a better system or a more efficient system. The government says you can only charge $1,000 a month in rent. So the answer is no. You are not going to make any improvements to that you don't have to. So now the government put in laws that says you have to do this and you have to provide air conditioning, you have to provide running water. When you as an owner of that, we're going to do that anyhow until the government forced your hand and cut it to say you could only make $1,000 a month. So now we have one government intervention for the price and now another government intervention to say you have to do these certain things as a minimum to be able to rent this property. So now along comes another investor and a building a couple doors down is available for sale, but it really needs full renovations. You redo the whole thing. So you now are looking at buying this other building, but the building next to you is under rent control at $1,000 a month. How are you going to compete? These are on the same street. They're right next to each other. If you do all the renovations you're looking at, this building might be $4,000 a month for the rent on a same size apartment, but you have to make an investment in it to make it nice enough to rent and to get renters. Well, who in their right mind is going to rent for $4,000 next door to $1,000 if the buildings are of similar location and similar quality? Nobody. So the investor doesn't buy the building that would have rented for $4,000. He just lets that thing get decrepit and outdated and abandoned because it's not worth his time or his investment. But who knows? The government could come along and put in rent control on his building soon and limit and cap his ability to earn money too. So when the government talks about fixing prices or getting involved in price controls for things like groceries or gasoline or rents or utilities, it is a terrible idea. One government intervention leads to multiple interventions, which leads to people not being incentivized to provide the best product out there. So think about it. If the government says you can only sell milk for $3 a gallon, all right, are people going to strive to make better milk, organic milk, more high quality milk, other milks like almond milks or milk for people who are lactose intolerant? If all of those got in that same mix, it won't be worth making those. So you've got to make sure that these government interventions don't decrease and de-incentivize the other market players who might invest in that. There might be better processes to make the farms more efficient, to make the milk better. And those will be completely bypassed if there are government interventions that limit the ability of an entrepreneur to make a profit. So watch out for these things. We really should look at less government, not more. Typically, anytime we hear that more government needs to be involved, it creates more problems, and more regulations decreases innovation and decreases the ability to scale and build better products for cheaper prices. So let the free market rule, and Thomas Sowell will tell you the same thing. So I encourage you, go out and check out this book. It's not a new book. He wrote it very long ago. He is very elderly right now, and a very smart man who was well before his time, and you should check it out. And by the way, if you're looking for it, it's called Basic Economics. His name is Thomas Sowell, Sowell. Okay, check it out. You can get your copy on Amazon even. And it's a great read and really insightful, especially for the time frame that it was written.